Hi, Jenny. Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here with you this morning.
Likewise. Jenny, thank you so much for saying yes to be interviewed today, albeit that today is a super important day for you. And for our listeners, Jenny is right now in Sarasota, Arizona, Florida. Sorry, Florida. Yeah, and she will be evacuating because of the hurricane that's coming her way. So we'll make it as fast as we can. And then, yeah. All right. So for our listeners, and for you, Jenny, I'd like to introduce myself formally. My name is Nicolette. I am the creator for the podcast titled You're Worthless. Read that again, the juxtaposition of your very soul. Now, let me read a bit of introduction, and then we can get right into our conversation.
Wonderful.
So, hey everyone, we have Jenny Alday Townsend here with us. Jenny is a successful entrepreneur who has made it her mission to help others navigate the challenges of marriage, business ownership, and balancing both. Now, after facing her own struggles in marriage and successfully overcoming them, she has developed a deep understanding of the complexities of relationships and the importance of effective communication. Jenny has since created the Stroke It Guide, which provides practical tools and strategies for individuals looking to improve their relationships. With a compassionate and empathetic approach, Jenny empowers her network to take control of their lives and relationships and create a fulfilling and happy future for themselves. Wow, Jenny, so much to unpack, but yes.
I was just thinking maybe we don't even need a show. No, I'm just kidding. I'm looking forward to sharing and inspiring your listeners and, answering any questions. And yeah, just grateful to share the journey.
Likewise, likewise. So, okay, Jenny, first off, what was it like growing up as a Jenny Townsend?
Well, so growing up. So I would say I had a really great childhood, even though my parents divorced twice, not just once, but twice, remarried 3 times. Yeah, very complicated system, divided households and all of that stuff. But overall, I had a really great childhood. My parents gave up their lives for us kids, and they dedicated a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of love to us. So I feel very, very fortunate. I was involved in all sports. I was involved in 4-H. I was involved in a lot of community-based hobbies so that I could learn the value of teamwork, communication, social skills, empowering others, but most importantly, leadership.
Wow. Whoa. Okay, can you tell us what is your backstory?
So when I think of my backstory, my parents were entrepreneurs. So I have always had an entrepreneurial spirit within my blood and a desire to always do what I love. So I love to work. I love to create opportunities for myself and for others. And I think it's just based on the work ethic from like living on a farm and my parents owning several businesses. We owned a window cleaning company. We owned a hay business, a fence building. We had a paper route. I just feel like my parents and we always worked as if we were hungry or starving, but we weren't. We were just I don't know, just living life and doing it together as a family. So it really created an amazing work ethic within me. So every job I've had, whether I've liked it or not, I always look at it as an opportunity to learn and to grow and to really key in on what I do want to do and what I don't want to do. And it allowed me to create some amazing roles throughout my career. And it also opened up a lot of doors and it led me to being able to launch my very own company back in 2016.
Oh, wow. Now, thank you for that. I am okay. So, in the intro, I mentioned a bit about your marriage. So, I think we're gonna take that angle.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
There were some struggle. I think I can definitely update
Really?
because I too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had my own divorce, but did not remarry. Okay. How did you forgive your husband?
Yeah. So as I was talking about, as you can see, I'm very passionate about working. And once I launched my company became my life, my love, my passion. It became everything. And I think it's important when you do launch a company that you go 100% in with no plan B, with no thought that it's ever going to fail. And if you're going to create something and invest a lot of time and a lot of money, you want it to be successful and you've got to do everything in your power to make it successful. Because I was so dedicated to my company the first several years, Now going into my ninth or 10th year, I now have the work-life balance. I now have a salary. I now have distributions. I now have, the opportunity to enjoy the fruit of the labor. However, that labor at the very beginning came at a large cost. Not only did I lose a lot of friends and I lost a lot of connections with my family because I always wanted to work. If it came to like a birthday party or it came to a family function, it was either music compound, my company, or family. I would always choose my company. It came that way also with my marriage. So I worked late, didn't really care to come home, did not want to come home and cook, did not want to come home and clean. I didn't want to be home. I did not want to even be really married. I just wanted my company to become successful. And so that basically led to my husband and I drifting apart. And, when people get lonely, there's always someone else ready to serve them, to stroke them, to love them, to care for them,
Give that TLC.
Yes. And a lot of times it happens within the office that your partner works at. So my husband had an affair with a coworker. I speculated it. I accused. I fought. I pulled up maps. I tried finding text messages for years, for years, for years, for years. And one day I took a sabbatical from work, actually. My mentor encouraged me in December of 2017. He said, "You're about to lose everything. You need to walk out of your company. You need to focus on your home life. You need to go out and just be you and do nothing." And so I took a sabbatical in December of 2017. And that's when I really realized what was happening. Like, it was literally right there, but I couldn't actually prove it until February of 2018. And that's when I discovered my husband was having the affair and everything came to fruition. And I'll say it's an awful experience. I don't wish it on anyone. It is super painful. Even if you know it's happening and you speculated and all that, it still hurts just as much because you have to relive all those fights and all those times you were told you were crazy and all those
Yeah.
feelings you had. You're like, you knew it. And
Mm-hmm.
you're so angry with yourself. There's so many emotions to unpack during that time of discovery. And then you start working towards the recovery process. Recovery process can be different for each and every single person. For me, I decided to take my time and not rush any decisions. I moved out and I decided to focus on me. Who was I? Who did I want to be? Where did I want to go? What did I want my future to look like? And I spent a lot of time looking within. And then I started to take ownership of how I played a role. And that allowed my husband then time to kind of figure out what he needed and what he wanted and take ownership of his role. And we listed our house because we're like, we're done. We're going to get divorced. We split our savings account and our house sold really fast. And then it was like, oh my God, we're going to actually do this.
We're gonna go through this. Yeah.
And so we had a trip booked around the same time just to see if that would fix our marriage. And we sold our house and we moved into a 1-bedroom apartment downtown. And the thought process of getting a 1-bedroom apartment, like putting everything in storage, separate storages, just in case it didn't work out, we could just date again. And so through that dating process, we learned to make our marriage a priority, make each other a priority. We understood each other's love languages. There was so much relearning about each other because we had both totally transformed and changed over the course of the, 8 or 9 years since we first started dating and then getting married. And what was really unique about the situation was there was no strings attached. Like, we had already sold our house, we split our assets, we split our savings account, and the apartment was affordable if one person wanted to leave. So we weren't tied. We don't even have children. We don't even have a dog. Like, literally, it was like we had every opportunity to walk away from each other completely free and start completely new lives. And we decided made a vow and we both screwed up. Let's give it one more shot. And I will say that it took about a year or two to forgive, which was another time I took another December of 2019 and I rented a house by myself. And I went and stayed out there. And once again, I was like, what do you want? You cannot go into 2020 not forgiving your husband. And if you're going to forgive, you need to forgive. You cannot continue to dig. You cannot continue to allow these triggers to take over you. Once again, this is another part of the process of the recovery. And I made a decision that I was going to forgive him. And later that year, I forgave him. And ever since then, we've been just rebuilding, and our marriage has become better than it ever has been. And I would say that one of the top reasons is that we respect each other, we trust each other, we love each other. And at the end of the day, we have learned that we have to make each other a priority. Everything else comes second. And we lost focus of that early in the marriage.
I am blown away by your story. Like, okay, I think a lot of people will be able to read and is gonna be so grateful for this episode, because right now, as we speak, we have, at least today, I think in the last couple of weeks, I have, scrolling past Instagram, I've seen celebrities, female influencers across the country going to court and filing for their divorce. Yeah. So Jenny, you are here like at the right time right now. Like, okay. Okay, so now my question to you personally, how did you manage your company while going through that phase?
So I love sharing this part of the story because I feel like so many things, I always look at obstacles to opportunities, and so many opportunities came out of this situation. Not only was I able to have a better marriage, but I was able to get snatched off that hamster wheel. As
Mm,
an entrepreneur, I love to work. So I was working around the clock, waking up hours, thinking of how can my company be better? What can we be doing differently?
Hi, I'm Nick Nieras, your host of the Your Wordless podcast. Now, if this real raw stories hit home, don't wait. Please follow, like, and subscribe my Spotify and YouTube. For bite-sized inspirational reels, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Don't wait. Your transformation starts today. Thank you, and bye for now.
And, you have the stresses of like the financials going up and down, people coming and leaving, and you never ever really shut it off. So when I took the sabbatical back in December of 2017, I basically left my company in the hands of a person that I hired in October who was 19, a 16-year-old, and then a bunch of adults. And what was happening is I was the therapist. I was the toilet bowl cleaner. I was the salesperson. I was wearing all these hats prior to the sabbatical. When I came back, there was another level of respect from my team members of they needed me, they wanted me, and they all had to figure out how to work together instead of always coming to me. And the cream rose to the top. The people that wanted to be there stepped up and literally leaned in. The people that were struggling, didn't really care about the mission or on their way out, left. So it was a really great way to set the stage for the new year, 2018, that is, to really take up the company and everyone figure out what their roles were. Ironically enough, I hired a new guy right before I went on my sabbatical, not knowing what his role was going to be, but he had approached me about working for my company. And he had a lot of great skill sets, but I didn't know, number one, how I was going to pay him or what he was going to do. He started in January of 2018. By February of 2018, I had to step out of my business. He, along with this other young lady, the 18 or 19-year-old that I hired in October, took over my company. He came from a background of digital. I was doing everything very paper and old school. So basically, it transformed my entire company and made it from old school to new school. Simultaneously, that young lady created a full-time position for her. She was previously part-time. And then she developed all the ways that we were going to make the company better. They had full permission, full autonomy, and they were completely empowered to transform the company without me saying, well, that's not how we do it. Or, I don't think I want it that way. I had no place in that company at that time. I needed to focus on myself and my marriage. So these two individuals that I trusted and they trusted me took ownership, took lead, and transformed that company from red to black. And they put in a lot of systems that made sense. So sometimes our companies aren't growing or they're not changing or they're not elevating because we as the business owners are holding it. We're so focused on everything that we can't dive into what we need to, or we're struggling emotionally, mentally, physically, where we can't actually be a great leader. We can't actually take the steps needed. We can't actually get anything done because we're trying to do way too many things. So I basically worked myself out of a job while I was focusing on myself and my marriage, which was fantastic because when I came back, I had a whole team of people that were running my entire company and they were running it better than me in some areas. So when I came back, I really didn't have much of a role. Yes, I needed to do payroll. Yes, I needed to still lead, but I really didn't come back in the company fully until COVID hit. I had to step back in for a short period of time. And then once again, my hires took over and I pieced out and I traveled all of 2021, a little bit of 2022.
My God.
So in 2023, and yeah, my company basically is thriving because I found really great people that believed in the mission, but also felt empowered to take ownership of a company they didn't necessarily own, but wanted to lead. And it has been a really big game changer for our organization and for our entire team. And now that I'm not working in the business, well, timeout. I have been working in the business the last 4 months because we just did a major expansion. I closed one location, merged it with another one, a 10,000 square feet facility. I just finished renovating and we just moved into it. It was a $200,000 investment, personally paid by me, not taking loans. So I am working very much in the business right now because of that. But for the most part, my company has been able to thrive and I can work on the business and work on my people and on the future versus on the day-to-day operations. So I want to encourage any entrepreneurs or any business owners out there listening, empower your team, trust them, allow them to screw up, allow them to make some decisions. They will surprise you, they will wow you, and they're going to be able to transform. Everybody wants to feel supported and empowered. And they all want to be, not everyone wants to be leaders, but there are a lot of people that want to lead. And we as business owners or managers or CEOs tend to hold people back because we are quick to judge. We're quick to tell them what they're doing wrong, what we don't like, and why
Mhm.
it doesn't work. So
Yes.
you can remove all those things. There's a pretty good chance you're going to be able to work yourself out of a job, do what you love within your company and do what you do best and why you started your company. Let all the other people support and do that. And that's going to allow you a lot of time outside of the business to focus on your marriage, to focus on your relationships, to focus on hobbies and enjoying life. For so much time, just was working so hard, but I wasn't enjoying the life I was trying to create. And so I want to make sure that I do that every single day.
You are just blowing my mind every time you speak. I am so inspired by you, Jenny. So, can you share with me and the listeners, like, what do you do? What is your business?
What is my business?
Mm-hmm.
So I currently own a music school in Sarasota, Florida. So we do music lessons, all ages, any level, any interest. I started this back in 2016. I drummed up the business plan back in 2009 while I was finishing college. It actually started as a class project.
Right.
We had to come up with a business plan that would utilize all of our business courses. And simultaneously, I was waiting tables at two different restaurants, trying to pay my mortgage, in the process of short selling my house. This is when the real estate market crashed. And all these musicians wanted a place to connect. And I was like, okay, well, why don't I just create a place for you guys? I'll rent a garage. You guys can rent it from me. Anyways, long story short, they have no money. So I was like, oh, who has money? And I thought back to my childhood. My parents invested all their time, energy, and money in me, and they made all of our activities their priorities. So I decided to just flip the switch for musicians and focus on children.
Uh-huh.
And I created a business plan. And anyways, I traveled across the country. I was in the bridal industry. I was in selling beneficial bacteria, blah, 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 nonprofit. And my husband looked at me one day and he's like, why don't you start that music school? And I told him about it on our first date. And so, yeah, he was like, why don't you quit your job? I support you. Go start the music school and I hope it works out for you. So, and ironically enough, that's the thing that broke up our marriage. So, yeah. So, anyway, so once again, it was just basically taking an idea, thinking about it, processing it. And once again, when I went back to school after the real estate market crashed, I was in the process of short selling I actually had to short sell my house. I lost all my money. I lost so many things. I had to rebuild my life again. But if I wouldn't have gone back to school, because no one would hire me, I only had an associate's degree. I didn't have a bachelor's degree. Even though I could outsell work, times have changed. You don't need a bachelor's degree to get a job now.
Yeah.
Then you did. So,
Yeah.
but I
For
wouldn't
sure.
have been in that position to create a business plan, to create an idea or a concept that would later impact so many lives. So I have a team of 33 people that work for my organization. We have a total of 500 members that come on a weekly basis that come through our door, and we're transforming their lives. And we're using it through music, but our focus really is building their social skills, boosting their confidence, giving them a platform to be creative, whether it's writing songs, playing guitar, doing ukulele, recording their music. And then we have even our older members have always dreamed about being in a band and singing and performing, and they're getting to live out those dreams. And our community is so powerful and so strong. And yes, people call our company for music lessons, but what they're getting and why they say yes is because of the transformation. So I'm super proud of it and just so grateful that I get the opportunity to impact so many people.
I'm so proud of you for
Thank you.
really such a great, yeah. So what instruments do you play?
So, interesting enough, I don't have a music background or an education background, and I don't play any instrument. So,
Can you sing?
no.
But it's but so this is just goes to prove that you don't have, as long as you because you're learning, you're absorbing, and then I think the most important thing is that you've got the backing from your parents, financially, mentally, morally, and then your partner too.
Yeah.
And then coming to the business side of it, learning to delegate, learning to empower, and giving that trust. And I think those are the key components like that created the synergy that you didn't know, that we all know that a CEO or a founder needs to have to be able to give, but then we forget because we want to do everything. We want everything to be done our way, not knowing that other people could have done it better. Will. Yeah.
100%. And to the point, so because I don't know how to teach music and because I don't know anything about music, I can't tell my teachers how to do their job. I have to trust them. I have to
Yeah,
empower them, and I have
exactly.
to hire those skills. So I'm very specific when I'm hiring what I'm hiring for. And they did teach me how to play ukulele. So if you go onto YouTube and you type in my name, I did learn to play this song, "The House That Built Me" by Miranda Lambert. And I learned that in January of 2019. And it's all about going back to your childhood. It's really just amazing, the storyline of that song, especially what I was going through at that time. And so I did that. And then I did write a song because I did a songwriting class and I did sing. The vocals are absolutely horrible. However, I slayed performance. I actually rapped. Once again, if you go onto YouTube and you type in my name, and then the song title is called New Day. And it's all about just waking up every day and giving gratitude and having a can do attitude and having a say in what you want your life to be. And the rap part is just so great. So,
I love your energy, Jenny. Thank you so much. Now, okay, we're gonna go to the business side, and then we can, you know, let you go so you can find some safety, right? Shelter. Like I am so worried. Okay, so what advice do you have for ones considering launching their own business?
so if you're interested in launching your own business, I would say first and foremost, make sure you're passionate about it. Make sure you want to do it every day. Make sure that you want to spend all your time thinking about it. If it's a hobby of yours, that's great. Do you want to keep it a hobby or do you want to make it a business? Those are
Monetize it.
is a super important question because you may love to sew. I sew. I used to sew. I don't sew anymore, but I used to sew, and I was like, "Oh, I can make handbags and sell handbags." And then I was like, "Wait a minute. I This is a hobby. This is supposed to not be business related." Anyway, so make a decision if you want it to be a hobby or if you want it to be a business. And if you want to start your own business, I would highly recommend you download a business canvas, which if you Google business canvas, basically a snapshot of a business plan. And then from there, you're going to create the business plan. I would work on your business plan and really put a lot of attention and detail into that, because that's going to give you the time to process, and that's going to give you time to process if you want to actually do it. If you can't put together a business plan, your company will never be successful because you won't ever complete any of the other tasks. The business plan is the most simplest step, and it's something that's going to guide you through that business journey. So I would highly recommend that. And if you're thinking about quitting your job, develop an exit strategy from your current employer right now. So when I was going to quit my job, I basically gave myself 6 months. I canceled my Massage Envy membership, my tanning membership. I traded in my Lexus for a Honda Accord.
I am in the process of selling my car as we speak as well.
I stopped getting my nails done, and basically I just started saving because I used to just spend a lot of money. And that's because, number one, I worked really hard. I didn't have children. I didn't have a dog. I was like, I'm just going to spend all the money on me. So begin saving, develop the exit strategy, and basically try to save as much money as you possibly can to live off of it for 1 year. So even though my husband did pay our mortgage, he paid our groceries and stuff, I was still able to pay my own car payment and pay a lot of my own bills during that time frame that I wasn't working when I was getting my company. And then secondly, if you are going to start a business, pay yourself from day one. I had an attitude that I could not afford to pay myself. And I was like, I can't afford to pay myself. I never added myself to payroll until I was getting divorced 3 years into the business. And I was walking on the beach with one of my teachers, and she goes, you just have a poor mindset. And as long as you have that poor mindset, you're going to be poor. You have to say, have enough money to pay myself. Have enough for the payroll. Add yourself to payroll, and you're never going to have a problem paying yourself as long as you have an abundant mindset. And she was right. And so pay yourself from day one. There's a book called Profit First. Check that out. Obviously, get my book, Stroke It. It walks you through like creating a business, launching a business, creating balance, paying yourself, managing people. And there's a lot of great books out there as well that you can get. And obviously, I'm available if anybody's interested in starting a business.
I love it. Well, okay. Thank you so much for that. Now, what advice do you have for those considering throwing in the towel, both in marriage and or business? Becoming a podcast host was a natural extension of my second act. And after spending 15 years in the corporate world, I've transitioned to helping individuals overcome challenges like navigating tough relationships, career burnout, and aligning their mission with their soul's calling. By certifying as an RTT hypnotherapist and a lifestyle coach, I've made it my mission to empower people to recreate the life they deserve and building a supportive community through my podcast. Now, let me ask, are you facing challenges like struggling to reprogram your mind to attract wealth, weight issues that feel like a constant yo-yo, insomnia or restless nights from daily worries, or just a lack of confidence in public speaking? If the answer is yes, visit www.thenicknearholisticlifestyle.com and grab a free hypnosis audio of these common struggles. It's a sneak peek into how my coaching works. Are you feeling shy? Don't be, because I'm as real as it gets. Let's connect on Instagram and LinkedIn and start your transformation today.
Okay, so marriage is super hard. It's like people throw you a bridal shower and they throw all these gifts at you, but they don't tell you the real deal. Like you need children. They're like, oh, you gotta have children. Have children. They're gonna change your life. You're gonna love them. I know so many people that had children and are like, oh my God, thank God you never had children. Or
Yeah,
you're not having children.
exactly.
So it's kind of like, everyone's like, oh, can you do all these things? And they don't really tell you all the shit that's going to happen, all the struggles, and like all the things you should be aware of. Or, my mom used to always say, oh, take care of your man. And, I just thought she meant like sexually, but men require so much. Women require a lot too. So if you're thinking about throwing in the towel, I want to encourage you to just stop and take your time, take ownership, accept who you are, accept who your spouse is, and really do a deep dive. I think a lot of times we depend and we require or we expect the other person to make us happy and to provide all these things for us. When in actuality, it's our job to provide those. It's our job to make ourselves happy. The happier we are, the happier we can be for other people, and we're going to want to make other people happy. I think there's a lot of false expectations of like, simple as buying flowers. I buy myself flowers. If I want flowers, I go and buy flowers. I don't like sit here and say, my husband better buy me
Guilt
flowers.
trip him. Yeah.
Or not tell him and then just get mad at him because he never bought me flowers.
Yes.
Or so anyway, so when it comes to books, before you throw in the town, obviously my book, Stroke It, there's a whole chapter on stroking your spouse. Obviously, I share my story of my husband having an affair, the discovery of it, how we got there, how we recovered, and all of that. I do believe that most marriages can be saved. I had someone say to me, if you can make it through this, you will have the best marriage possible. When you're going through this discovery phase, or if you've been married for 20 years and it's like the kids are finally out of the house and you've been waiting for this moment to leave and you've lost yourself and you're just so unhappy, that's the moment you need to stop right then and there before you walk out of the door and focus on yourself and focus on your spouse. It's not too late. That's the time that you're going to have to like rebuild your marriage. And I know so many, I don't know what it is with the 20-year mark. Maybe it's because kids are finally out of the house. But so many marriages end at that point. And I think that's the perfect opportunity for you to get to know each other and to rebuild and to focus on what each other need. I read The Five Love Languages. I think that's a great book for people to read if they are struggling. A lot of times we think what we're doing for our spouse is showing love to them when in actuality it's doing the exact opposite. So for me, for example, my husband's love language is quality time. He wanted me to work out in the gym with him each morning. Well, I thought I was being a great wife because I was making him a smoothie, I was making him breakfast, I was cooking him lunch. What he needed and what he wanted was me to be in the gym with him, spending quality time with him, supporting him as he worked out, him supporting me. We work out now, and it's so funny. Like, he'll be like on the bar bench doing something. I'll just go put myself on him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I think if you
Wow.
understand the love languages, or if I would have read that book sooner, I would have said, screw the meal. He can eat later, and I could spend that time with him. There was another book that I read that was super, super good. I have two, so that I want to share. Becoming Your Spouse's Better Half is a really great book. It's a great read for both partners, and it talks about the modes, like what we need as women, what they need as men, and how to support as well. So my husband and I read that. If you're thinking about throwing in the towel, this is a really great book. It's called Love Must Be Tough. No one understands what they're going to miss until it's gone. So this just talks about stopping doing certain things, but with the intention that you're not going to leave as well. So this is a really great book. I would highly recommend those. And like I said, the five love languages. So before you throw in the towel, once again, I have 4 ground rules. I always say, it is acknowledge, avoid, accept, and attract. And that's, once again, acknowledge who you are, what you want, where you want to go, and your role. Accepting the facts can be super, super hard. Accepting your spouse for who they are. May want to change them. Just accept them for who they are, love them for who they are, and focus on the really, really positive things. There's a lot of times that we complain about our husbands, but if you go next door and you look at what's happening in that household, you're going to be really, really grateful for your husband. Attract what you want. So if you want to be happy, go and hang out in really happy places. If you want to attract really smart and successful people, go hang out in those circles. Go to those networking events. And the other one, which is avoid. Avoid places that trigger you, avoid people that make you unhappy, and avoid making poor decisions. And if you follow those 4 ground rules, it's really going to help you with rebuilding yourself, rebuilding your relationship. And that relationship could be with anyone. It doesn't even have to be with marriage. I've had to use the same 4 ground rules for rebuilding friendships and relationships with certain family members as well. So I would say just don't throw in the towel yet. And if you are going to throw in the towel, develop an exit strategy once again. Think about the next 6 months into a year. Where can you start saving money? How can you start buying gift cards? Which you can do that if you're grocery shopping. Just buy 25 or $50 here and there. Get a counselor, get a good attorney. And there are divorce coaches as well that will help you with making some really great decisions, but then also asking the right questions and finding where all the money may be hidden, where other investments may be. Maybe you want to hire a private investigator, or there's so much that comes into exiting a marriage as well. And I definitely think everyone should consider the household. So if you do have children, how is this going to impact them? Does your partner even know that you want to get divorced? Is your partner unhappy because they're unhappy with themselves or unhappy with their job? They're unhappy with the demand. I think a lot of times what ends up happening too with affairs is that, and this was in my case, is you have one person in that marriage that is the workaholic, maybe the provider, maybe is trying to create all the opportunities for the rest of the family. I know a lot of people love the fancy cars. They like the big diamond rings. They love the fancy clothes. They like the big Louis Vuitton bags. And they love all the things that all the money buys. But they don't like that their husband or their wife is not home, present with them. Well, how do you think all of the materialistic stuff ends up in your lap? Because of the sacrifices that other person's having to make. And a lot of times we don't consider what all they have to go through. My husband was very miserable and very unhappy in his job for a very, very long time. And I know a lot of other people, it's because they're trying to make everybody else in their life happy and they're not doing what makes them happy. So I want to encourage you to have some conversations with your spouse and a safe space at a time that makes the most sense. Having a conversation about your relationship first thing in the morning before your husband or your wife goes to work, not a good time. At the end of the day, when everyone's stressed and has maybe had a crappy day, or they've been schlepping people, or they've had a bad meeting, it's not a good time. Now, there's probably never a good time is what you're thinking in your mind. However, if it's a priority, you're going to create the time, you're going to put it on your schedule, and you're going to make sure that both of you are in the right headspace. You're both calm and you're both open. That doesn't mean come and judge and say, I hate that you do all these things. I would encourage you to focus on what you love about this person and what you value about that person first and foremost, and that you want to mend your relationship and you want to make it work. And then you can say, these are the things that I struggle with. This is how it impacts us. And then, or even maybe write each other a letter and open it and read it at that same time as well. But a lot of times it's because we don't communicate. We expect our partner to be a mind reader. And once again, we have all these expectations that they're going to be this way or that way, and it's not the way that we want them to be. So that's a lot of advice. I know.
Wow. Jenny, I could just shut up right now and just let you lead everything. Like, I love it. I just hated that I have to let you go so soon. I would love to have you on back for second season, and that's yeah, we have to get back on because I have so much more to ask you. So what are you working on currently?
What am I working on currently? Well, I'm currently working on getting myself back out of my business and start working back on the business. We're going through some transitional changes right now. And I just finished this book, Traction, which is a great business book. If you haven't read it, definitely read it. And I'm working on some other things to make my company a little bit more efficient and more profitable. Obviously, with the expansion of a 10,000 square feet facility, there's a lot more costs that are associated with it. And so I'm just really needing my people to be as effective as possible. And I think what times like our employees are just like on the hamster wheel and just checking boxes, and they forget to lead with intention. They forget to think big picture, and they just want to do all the easy stuff because it makes them successful. They're not comfortable with being uncomfortable. And so right now I'm going to be spending the next quarter really on the transition plan of individuals and what their next year is going to look like and what the company is going to look like in the new year, and potentially bringing on some new hires and restructuring. So as far as my music school, I'm going to be working a lot on the business and restructuring so that we can be super profitable next year. There is a goal in the future, a long time from now, of maybe franchising it, maybe exiting, selling, and all of those things. So you've got to really have some great systems in place along with the right people in the right seats. And so
That's right.
I'm really going to be focusing on that in the next couple of years. I also have my own podcast, which is called Stroke It, and
Yeah.
I'm launching season 3 in the next couple of weeks. I've got 150 or 160 episodes, and that podcast is all about inspiring people to take ownership of their life and basically stroke the individuals in their lives so they can have better relationships. So we talk a lot about stroking ourselves, which the better we are, the better the people in our lives can be. We talk about relationships. We talk about employees, how to retain them, how to maintain them, how to keep them happy and engaged. We talk about employers. So how are you stroking your employer? Not literally, but how are you, showing up on time, professionalism, buying into the vision and all that. And so it's really just great. A lot of my guests have some really great resources and downloads. A lot of them are authors and coaches and CEOs. And so, launching season 3. And I'm going to get back to playing tennis because I was playing tennis before getting my book launched. I had tennis elbow. So I'm going to get back to having my hobby. I split my days up in thirds. So I do 1/3 is like me. So it's like working out, tennis, whatever. And then working is 1/3 of it. And then like my whole life is the other third. So getting back to that this quarter is key for me. I have been struggling for the past probably like 6 months with all the transitions and everything going on with the book launch and then the expansion. And then we moved and blah, blah, blah. So
Well,
Kate,
I think you just become you're now my new idol, Jenny. Wow. Okay. Now, if you could create a quote right now for you to leave the audience listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
well, most likely it would be turn any obstacle into an opportunity, or it would be do you now, not tomorrow, and do it for you. So that
Thank
would be
you.
it.
Wow. Okay. So, how can people reach out to you?
So my website is the best way. Everything is there. The podcast, the book, all the resources are there as well. So that's going to be JennyAldayTownsend.com, and that's with 1 L. And then I'm also on Instagram. It's under the same name. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on all the platforms. And we drop lots of great resources every single day. We promote all the podcasts as well. And if you are, listening to this, I would highly recommend giving us a review. Want to plug that right now.
For sure. Yeah.
Most likely, you can find my podcast on any of the platforms that you're listening to this podcast on. And I would love to have some more listeners. And I always want to encourage everyone that if this helped you, forward this to 5 people in your contact list. I feel like anybody can benefit from the podcast that we listen to, whether they're wanting to grow personally or professionally. There's always some nuggets and some rocks into every podcast. Obviously, we've highlighted a couple different books and a lot of great stuff today. So reach out on any platform, maybe my website, or just essentially download my podcast or buy my book on Amazon.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. I'm going to circle back to one question because it is my flagship self-worth question. So the question for you, Jenny, how can mindfulness and self-awareness practices contribute to self-discovery and a healthier self-concept?
Just think it's so important. For years I didn't do it, and I think it's just an everyday practice. Even if it's just as simple as giving gratitude and being really grateful for what you have or who you are, the fact that you're waking up every morning. I think leaning into that allows you to have the self-worth because the fact that you get to see everything around you and it's just worth so many things. Whether it's like, the cell phone you're using, to call the people that mean something to you in your life or the bed that you're living in or, sleeping in and things like that. So, I don't know if that answers your question, but I don't know. I always think
That is not a right or wrong answer.
I always think just leaning into gratitude can boost yourself
Love it.
as well.
That's as well.
Yeah, I just think it's super, super important. We just kicked off, most of our staff meetings kick off with taking a deep breath and just giving a sense of gratitude in that moment. And that way everyone can really understand the value of that time. But then once we are all in that meeting together, so much value comes out of it. And it's definitely worth the little 2 seconds of that exercise that boosts the morale of our company as well.
I just feel it. Like I can feel the energy oozing. Thank you so much for sharing the energy with me. So, Jenny, have you considered becoming a business coach?
It's like when you write a book, everyone's like, "Oh, you got to have this whole platform. You got to have all these things," and it's like, it's like, yes, eventually, but right now I've got to coach my own people and cheerlead and lead them. And
Oh my gosh.
actually, I'll do that. I do have some stuff that I'm working on as far as like coaching in the future, and I love mentoring.
Beautiful.
I feel like I've always done that, but like to like, I guess, label it and have people pay for it
Right.
is something different. So we'll see what happens in the new year.
I love it. I love it. Well, I do want to be signed up. So, because yeah, you're definitely my idol now.
Thank
So, yeah. And there you have it, guys. You heard it from the person herself, Jenny Townsend. Before we close off, Jenny, I'd like to thank you personally for the work that you're doing for the world and for advancing every step of the way, despite the challenges, creating trails for those that will come after you. And for our listeners, this has been that one podcast with that controversial name, You're Worthless. Read that again. The juxtaposition of your very soul. Now, if you find yourself thinking that you are worthless, you're probably not alone. But more importantly, ask yourself a level deeper. If I'm worthless, then why the heck am I here? It is because your soul have chosen to be here energetically, that is all the way from the ethers. And for that reason itself, you are worthy and you are enough. This has been Jenny Townsend, your guest of the day, and Nick Nyaras, your host, signing off. Thank you so much, Jenny, for your time. Thank you.